welcome to another episode. I am excited to kick off a new mini-series this month, the month of July. If you were with me last month, we spent the entire month talking about the speed of success, right? We know that we need to generate results, specifically performance results, in a new role as quickly as possible, and the executive seat is no different. This month, let's talk about one of the key things that become a barrier to that speed if we don't go ahead and step into it and own it and figure out how to overcome any mental blocks that prevent us from stepping into that. What am I talking about? I'm talking about ownership, specifically owning your seat at the table. Now, I know that sounds a little cliche, right? We talk all the time about own your seat, take your seat at the table, step into it, right? All the things that we hear regularly in the corporate space or in the executive space. But what does it really mean? Well, when we talk about owning your seat, we're talking about the fact that when you participate in meetings, in discussions, in events, right? Whatever it is, when you're in a group of individuals and you're representing the part of the business that you essentially are responsible for, that's owning your seat. When you step in and you represent that portion of the business, it's like sitting at a table, right, talking about maybe like a UN meeting or any of these other very large meetings that happen throughout the world, and everyone has an assigned seat. Every country has a seat at the table, and that person's expected to represent their country at that meeting. Well, it's the same theory for you as an executive. You have a seat at that table, and you're expected to represent your portion of the business, okay? Now, how do you know if you're owning your seat or not? Well, it's pretty simple. Are you representing your seat well? Are you representing your portion of the business as you should? Or are you sort of sitting there taking up space? Now, I don't know about you, but I remember being in meetings with people who just took up space. And, I'm not a big fan of that. You're probably not a big fan of that either as a high performer, high achiever. And so if you're becoming one of those individuals where you're just taking up space, because you're new to the role and you're not sure how to own that seat, you're not sure how to represent your portion of the business, then you've got to step into that. And that's exactly what we're going to spend this entire month talking about, is understanding all the key components of owning your seat and some of the actions that you can take to move you forward. So that's what we're going to do. But let's talk about this really quickly. Why is it that we sometimes don't own our seat? What happens? Because if you think about it, and we talk about this regularly here together, it takes women on average 10 years to reach the executive ranks. 10 years. Well, in 10 years, you have become known for being this woman that is high performing, high achieving, getting things done, having the answers, being that subject matter expert. And then you step into the executive role and the change is so large and the growth is so much bigger than what you expected, right? It's a surprise. Stepping into the executive seat, it's a surprise to us. It's a little bit of shock. And so we start to doubt ourselves, our abilities, our knowledge, all of the things, because we're having to grow into being that executive. We've never done it before. And it's new. And again, there's growth. And so what happens when we're trying to do something new? Well, we get a little fearful. We start holding ourselves back because we have some of that uncertainty. And so with uncertainty comes fear, and that fear prevents us from being that high achieving, high performing, confident, strong female leader that we've been in all the prior positions. And so what we've got to do is we've got to figure out how to overcome that fear. If we're going to own the seat, we've got to overcome the fear. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to talk about a couple of things that you've got to learn how to do in order to immediately step in and own the seat. You don't have time to wait, right? Remember speed of success last month? We don't have time to wait. We've got to step in now and start generating results and knowing exactly what to do to get those results. And that's what we're going to spend time this month talking about. All about how to own your seat, eliminate the fear, not just sit there silently and take up space, but actually do the key critical thing that we're all there to do in an organization, which is add value. You've got to be there. You got to own the seat, because owning the seat adds value to the organization. That's why you exist. And if you're not adding value, you don't get to hold the seat for long. That's just the reality of the situation. So let's make sure that you get to own that seat. Join me next week and we're going to talk about the key primary action that you can take in order to own your seat and be able to move forward and confidently deliver with speed as this first-year executive. Now, what I want you to do, if you haven't already, go ahead and get the workbook. It is there to help you. There are key questions in there that are going to help you answer, define, and understand how are you owning your seat, where are you in this process, and it's going to help you open your eyes so that you are ready to move forward. Maybe you're right where you need to be. Maybe you're not. Go ahead and do the workbook and answer those key questions so you know where you are and what you need to do. And if you're listening to me right now and you're like, oh, I've got to own my seat, Katrina. I've got to get some speed in my performance. I want to work with someone. I want to have someone walk beside me as I do this. We have a program that launches at the beginning of every month. It's a cohort of women. It's a program that we do. We help you get results in 60 days instead of the typical 12 months, right? 2 months instead of 12 months. If you're interested in that, there'll be a link here in the information. Go ahead and learn more about it. You don't have to do it alone, and you can do it with speed. All right? As always, go and be legendary.